The clock is ticking for Srinivasan. The Apex Court has set a final deadline. It has put its interim plan to clean up our cricket on paper. In 14 hours from now, it will strike the final blow. If BCCI fails to comply with its three conditions, it wants Srinivasan out and Gavaskar installed as interim chief of the Board of Control for Cricket in India. The Supreme Court also wants the two tainted teams, CSK and Rajasthan Royals, out of the IPL. What the courts have left unsaid, yet clearly understood, is that it will not take no for an answer.
Sir, will you be stepping down today?
On Tuesday, the Supreme Court said if Srinivasan did not step down, it would be forced to act. And it did on Thursday, making its mind very clear in uncertain terms, even though the bench called them proposals. The first was that Sunil Gavaskar should replace Srinivasan as the interim president of BCCI. Rajasthan Royals and Chennai Super Kings should be barred from IPL 7. And employees of Srinivasan-owned India Cements should stay out of BCCI. The BCCI has only 24 hours to file its response to the proposals.
सर्वप्रथम श्रीनिवासन को बीसीसीआई के अध्यक्ष पद से रिमूव किया गया है और उनके जगह में जब तक ये मुकदमा चलेगा भारतीय क्रिकेट के महान क्रिकेट खिलाड़ी सुनील गावस्कर बीसीसीआई के अध्यक्ष का कार्यभार संभालेंगे और 16 अप्रैल से जो आईपीएल होने वाला है उसमें चेन्नई सुपर किंग और राजस्थान रॉयल की टीम पार्टिसिपेट नहीं करेगी.
But there was more drama in court. The petitioners' counsel Harish Salve put the Indian cricket captain in the dock. Salve accused Dhoni of lying in front of the Mudgal Committee. Salve said Dhoni was involved in corrupt conduct. Salve questioned Dhoni's conflict of interest.
I have not seen the proposal. I have not seen what it is all about. And these matters are in the court. So, we have to wait for these court judgments. I don't want to get into commenting on a court judgment, and the matters are sub judice. So, better not to get into matters.
The matter is already sub judice, as you are aware. So, let's wait for the final verdict of the court. The court has given some suggestions, and there will be arguments tomorrow. And after that, a final verdict would come. So, let's wait for that.
And whatever the verdict is, the final verdict is of the Supreme Court, I'm sure all of us, as law-abiding citizens, will abide by the decision of the Supreme Court.
In the perception of the court, in the perception of the people, there is a loss of confidence in the board, and the members, I think, should now rise above individuals and look at the larger interest of the board.
But there could be a new twist in this saga. Questions are being raised whether Gavaskar is the right man for the job.
क्योंकि तीन चीज़ें हैं गावस्कर साहब के खिलाफ. एक तो शुरू से ही आईपीएल के वो गवर्निंग काउंसिल के मेंबर रह चुके हैं. $1 मिलियन कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल डील्स हैं उनकी. वो एक बीसीसीआई के पेड एम्प्लॉई हैं और आपने देखा पिछले 5-6 साल में वो बीसीसीआई के खिलाफ बिल्कुल कुछ बोलते ही नहीं हैं.
Whatever the point of view may be, the Apex Court will be announcing its decision on Friday. And that could be the final nail on coffin for Srinivasan.
Just like last time around, BCCI will find a name for an interim president this time also. But two major things. Firstly, holding an IPL without Rajasthan Royals and star-studded Chennai Super Kings team. And secondly, removing dark black stains on skipper Mahendra Singh Dhoni's reputation could prove to be extremely difficult for the Indian Cricket Board. From New Delhi with Jaskirat Bawa and camera person Vipin Kumar, Atish Sharma for Headlines Today.
The Supreme Court proposed the name of former India captain Sunil Gavaskar to be the interim president of the BCCI. The court said that Srinivasan cannot continue as the BCCI president, and it recommended a clean and impartial figure like Sunil Gavaskar to take charge of the Indian Cricket Board.
The Honorable Supreme Court, which is the highest court of the land, thought it fit to think of me. Is a huge honor. It's an incredible honor, probably the greatest honor that I have received in my career.
However, questions are being asked about the suitability of Sunil Gavaskar as the replacement for Srinivasan. The legendary batsman is on the payroll of the BCCI and has been accused of being its mouthpiece several times in the past. He also has a controversial past as the captain of the Indian cricket team and is currently running a player management firm. He's also contracted with the private television news channels. creating the spectre of conflict of interest in his own case. Headlines Today has learned from reliable sources the Supreme Court's recommendation of making Sunil Gavaskar the BCCI chief is not acceptable to the petitioner Aditya Verma. Verma will now request the apex court to suggest the name of another person to replace the BCCI Supremo. On the other hand, the BCCI is set to propose the name of Anil Kumble for the BCCI top job.
सर्वप्रथम श्रीनिवासन को बीसीसीआई के अध्यक्ष पद से रिमूव किया गया है और उनके जगह में जब तक ये मुकदमा चलेगा भारतीय क्रिकेट के महान क्रिकेट खिलाड़ी सुनील गावस्कर बीसीसीआई के अध्यक्ष का कार्यभार संभालेंगे और 16 अप्रैल से जो आईपीएल होने वाला है उसमें चेन्नई सुपर किंग और राजस्थान रॉयल की टीम पार्टिसिपेट नहीं करेगी.
A massive cloud of doubt hangs over Indian cricket. Should IPL season 7 be suspended till the time the dust of fixing settles, till the time a thorough probe has been completed? Joining us on centre stage tonight, one of the foremost cricket analysts of India, Boria Majumdar, also with us, former BCCI President A C Muthiah. With me in the studio, Nikhil Chopra, and to give us a perspective from Chennai, journalist V. Balaji. I want to go across first to Mr. Muthiah on the issue of the suspension of the IPL. This is a thought which was first suggested by Shashank Manohar. He says that just cancel this season till the time this fixing probe is completed, till the time the guilty have been nailed. Do you believe that there must be no season 7 of the IPL, Mr. Muthiah?
I quite agree. There should be no season 7. It should be banned. And not only that, there are 2 teams which have been disqualified. So already the players have to be refixed. If IPL 7 continues, they have to be refixed. And there will be a lot of problems doing that. I think better to ban it, let the probe be over, come out clean, and then start the new IPL 8.
You're saying let the probe be completed. There's very little time to go. You need to readjust the entire allocation of players. Nikhil Chopra, is that the most sensible thing to do given the circumstances? Let's not have a season 7 of the IPL.
No, in lieu of at least some of the youngsters and with a couple of guys making mistakes, the rest of the team is going to be bearing the brunt of it. I don't think that's the right way forward. To me, you know, if the 2 teams get suspended, fair enough, that whatever malpractice you've got to go after the guilty. What wrong have all the other 6 team franchise owners or the players done, or even some of the guys who are not been questioned? I don't know what's in that sealed report. If the question is, there is a problem that you're looking to probe, go after the guilty. Why stop the game?
You're saying that point the guilt in the direction of those who've been found to be culprits. Don't unnecessarily punish all the others. Boria Majumdar, would that not be a fair thing to do? Just axe the guilty, don't punish the rest. Where do you stand on the issue of suspending IPL 7?
You know, I think it should be suspended, Rahul, and I have my very strong reasons for that. One, I think the ultimate stakeholder of Indian cricket is you and I, the Indian cricket fan. Now, will you watch IPL season 7 before the probe with the same intensity that you did for IPL season 6? I think you won't. You will always have this lingering suspicion. Is this match fixed? Is this spot fixed? So the point is, we need a fair and clean IPL. Let this season go. 2 teams, as Dr. Muthiah already said, has been disqualified. We broke this news yesterday on Headlines Today when Shashank Manohar came out with the statement. I think it's a very fair call. Let it all start on a clean slate. I'm worried what happens to the players of these 2 teams as well. What do you do with them? You cannot penalize them. So even from the perspective of the players, from the perspective of the cricket fan, from the perspective of every stakeholder, think of the commercial sponsor. Will a commercial sponsor want to be associated with a brand over which the fixing sword is hanging? I think from all standpoints, the season 7 should be stopped and season 8 should be a very, very different one with a clean slate.
With a clean slate begins season 8. How do you respond to what Boria is saying? The very compelling arguments about why IPL season 7 needs to be suspended.
Well, to be honest, you know, even if you go through the entire probe, what is going to change? You know, the guilty get punished and the game will carry on.
No, but right now you don't know whether you're watching the World Wrestling Federation or you're watching a real cricket match. You don't know how much of it is fixed. There's a big question mark in everybody's mind.
How will that change from IPL season 8? If, you know, somebody has to get into malpractices, they would do it in
Mr.
season 8
Muthiah,
as well.
Even if you were to suspend season 7, how do you know that season 8 would be different, Mr. Muthiah? Players could still do the same thing.
No, I'll tell you. You see, now season 7, part of it you are wanting to have it in Dubai, in the Middle East. And that's where that is root of all this betting scandals, and you want to have part of it there, and how are you going to manage it? It's not the right choice.
So I think the most
and
important
why have it in
for the
Dubai?
BCCI, and I've said this for a long period of time, we must have a very, very strong ACU. You know, with people with, you know, who've got vast experience, whether it's Dubai, whether the Middle East. I understand where Mr. Muthiah is coming from, completely understand his sentiments, but don't forget, you know, with Srishant, Ajit Chandela, they did it in our own backyard.
No, but then there is a context to Dubai, there is a context to the United Arab Emirates. This is the heart of gambling. Some would argue this is where the troubles for modern cricket really began. Mr. Balaji, would it not be appropriate for IPL season 7 to be suspended given the sheer amount of doubt that now hangs over this format of the game?
See, first of all, I would actually agree with Nikhil, because see, the thing is, if you suspend IPL 7, what is the guarantee that IPL 8 is going to be clean? That's the first point. And the second thing is, see, 6 players have been named in the so-called sealed report, and 3 players have already been suspended. Why spoil one season of good cricket for hundreds of cricketers because 9 guys are guilty? I mean, weed them out. And the players who are playing the game correctly, who are playing for
Boria Majumdar, respond to that. There are 8 players who've supposedly been found guilty. Do a full probe, act against them. Why hold everyone else guilty? And what's the guarantee that season 8 will actually be clean and we won't have the same mess once more, Boria?
So Rahul, this is most funny and amusing. Nikhil Chopra and Mr. Balaji are telling us that what is the guarantee season 8 will be clean. So if there is no guarantee, so we will go ahead with an unclean tournament. So you will go ahead with the sword hanging over the IPL.
No, Boria, you're not getting the point. It's not a matter of sword hanging. We are just saying that go after the guilty. Why are you painting all the other guys with the same brush? Go after the guilty.
How will you know who's guilty before the probe is over? How will you know who's guilty before the probe is over? Let the CBI or a national investigative agency do the
probe. Then give it to the national investigative agency.
That's the point. So once the probe is not over, how can you have season 7?
Well,
the probe will take 3, 4,
at the end of the day, you know, that sealed envelope with the 6 players or whoever they are, you either suspend them. With Mr. Mudgal naming those 6 players, shouldn't they be suspended?
Have you read the annexures? Sorry, Mr. Balaji, if you've read the annexures, it says it's not about 6 players. In fact, there are more names. There are more names than 6 players, and I can tell you on record. But the fact is, whether these players are actually guilty or not, whether there are more players involved, if you check the Mumbai police transcript, the fact is, until and unless the probe is over, you will not know. So let the probe be over, let the guilty be punished, let the IPL come back.
What if the probe doesn't finish in a year? In India, probes go on for 15, 20 years. What if the probe doesn't finish in a year, Boria?
Ridiculous. I mean, if the probe doesn't finish in a year, then what do we do with this tournament? It's a $1 billion tournament. Let the CBI be given a time frame by the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court of the land, Rahul, tells you do this in 4 months or in 5 months, I'm sure with the wherewithal of, you know, the CBI or whatever, they will have to do it. Ultimately, you're talking
should
about
the entire IPL season 7 be suspended, as Boria is arguing, or would that be punishing a whole bunch of players who are not guilty and would be held guilty for the sins committed by someone else, Boria? Mr. Ezekiel.
Rahul, you're asking me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Rahul, you know what my views on IPL are right from the start.
Yes.
On your channel, what my views have been. My view is that IPL is so rotten to the core that it has to be scrapped altogether. So there's no question of IPL 7 or 8. I feel IPL is corrupt beyond redemption. And why only point fingers at the players? Their officials, their owners, already a couple of franchises have been abolished. I say abolish the entire IPL, clean out the entire rot and stop this nonsense and this corruption altogether.
No, but is that not rather extreme? Why are you trying to punish everyone? There are certain people who've been found guilty of wrongdoing. How do you respond, Nikhil, to the arguments, the sweeping generalizations being made by Gulu?
No, I guess this is all just like a knee-jerk reaction at this moment in time. What are the 2 teams that are in question? The 2 teams are Chennai Super Kings and Rajasthan Royals. If anything, you can, you know, suspend those 2 teams to go ahead and finish the probe. What are the other teams? They are nowhere in any transcript, whatever I have read, you know, through the studios or whatever, no other team's name is mentioned.
Why hold everyone guilty when there are 2 teams whose owners are in a spot of bother, their players are under question? Why crucify everyone, Gulu Ezekiel?
You see, the point is, Rahul, right from the beginning of IPL, there's always been a suspicion, and already the Pune team has been withdrawn and Kochi Tuskers was abolished, and anybody who gets involved with IPL, it's like a, they're tainted by association. The entire structure of the IPL was corrupt and full of loopholes from the very beginning, because the whole structure was made by the so-called creator of IPL in order to
are those
take
sweeping generalizations, Boria, or is there merit in what Gulu is arguing tonight?
No, I don't think the IPL should be scrapped altogether. I don't agree with Gulu on that. But the two teams point that you just raised, if you read the Mumbai police transcripts, it's not about two teams. There's Bangalore. Bets were being placed about who makes the semi-finals. It's about Sunrisers Hyderabad. So it's not about two teams. So that's what I'm emphasizing. But you cannot scrap the tournament as a whole. I'm very clear on that. I'm clear on the fact, let there be a CBI probe, and not a BCCI appointed probe, a CBI probe. Let the CBI do a probe, an investigative agency which has credibility. Let us get to the root of the problem. Let us do a time-bound probe and bring back IPL season 8.
Scrap the IPL, argues Gulu Ezekiel, Mr. Muthiah. He says the format is rotten to the core. Everyone associated with it gets tainted in some fashion, Mr. Muthiah.
It's tainted, but I won't abolish the IPL. I wouldn't scrap it at all. It's an excellent product. It gives tremendous opportunities for youngsters to come up. So I don't think we should go to the extreme and scrap IPL.
Okay.
So what we should do is now suspend it for the time.
I want to come to the second part of the centre stage face-off for tonight. Has Mahendra Singh Dhoni made his position untenable? Harish Salve argued in court today that Dhoni misled Justice Mudgal by saying that Mayappan was just a cricket enthusiast supporting the Chennai Super Kings, knowing fully well that he was much more than just a sporting enthusiast. He in fact was the team principal. Does that clear, blatant lie make Dhoni's position untenable? We don't know fully whether this is what Dhoni argued in front of Justice Mudgal. Is that the case, Boria? You've read this report. Is this indeed what Dhoni said to Justice Mudgal? Why would he say something like this, which he knows is not true at all?
Absolutely, that is the case. I've read that report not once but 100 times. 100% Harish Salve is right in saying that Mahendra Singh Dhoni justified or reiterated what Mr. Srinivasan said 1 year back, that Gurunath Mayappan is an enthusiast. I think he said it under pressure. I think he said it under pressure from Mr. Srinivasan. I feel disappointed, dejected and sad, Rahul, that my cricket captain, who represents 1 billion plus mad cricket followers, has lied under oath. He was compelled. I seriously think it was not Mahendra Singh Dhoni. I think he was compelled by Mr. Srinivasan and some of the other players in this whole controversy, which forced Mahendra Singh Dhoni's hand to lie under oath. Coming to your bigger question of whether it's untenable, yes it is. The Indian cricket captain lying and his name being taken in the Supreme Court, quote unquote, Harish Salve saying for corrupt conduct, I think that is the worst shameful thing that can happen for Indian cricket. I think he can continue as a player, but for the sake of the game, for the dignity, for the sanctity of the game, he should step down as captain.
Justice Mudgal was not a serving judge. So this is not lying under oath, but lying nonetheless is bad enough. Gulu Ezekiel, do you concur with the argument being made by Boria that the fact that here's a man we all look up to, he's our cricket captain, and if he goes and lies before a judge, that's not okay. Dhoni knows that Mayappan is much more than a cricket enthusiast. Despite that, he goes and tells Justice Mudgal that here is someone who's just a cricket enthusiast and not my team principal. Does that now render Dhoni's position as captain of India untenable, Gulu Ezekiel?
In my heart of hearts, I really feel sorry for somebody like Dhoni, who is basically under the thumb of his boss in India Cements. And make no mistake about it, Dhoni's his commitment and his loyalty lies with India Cements. And this is why the Supreme Court in its wonderful verdict today has said that anybody and everybody connected to India Cements, including half a dozen players in the Indian team, should be completely removed from the BCCI structure. Now this whole India Cements business has been planted within the BCCI by Mr. Srinivasan, and it has corrupted the entire structure from top to bottom. And it has poisoned the entire groundwater of Indian cricket. And here you have a young man, Mr. Dhoni is a young man, the captain of the Indian team, under tremendous pressure from his employee and boss to lie to a sitting judge or a retired judge. And I mean, I'm not a legal expert. Rahul, maybe you can tell me. I don't know whether this is perjury or not, but it's a terrible, terrible situation.
No, this may not be perjury as defined by the law, but this is a sin grave enough. There comes a time in your life Nikhil, when you need to take a stand. There might be commercial pressures, there may be pressures from your bosses, your owners, but you need to stand up and say, I will not lie. You're testifying before a judge. He may not be a sitting judge, but surely you need to take that testimony seriously. And for what Dhoni has done, should he not step down as captain of the Indian team, Nikhil?
I completely understand where you're coming from. You know, it's very easy for you and me to sit here and decide, you know, what Mahendra Singh Dhoni has done under oath is completely wrong. But don't forget, Mr. Srinivasan is the board president.
So what?
At the end of the day,
you take a position.
He's looking to play for his country under pressure. If he said what he's done, he's probably not.
How do you know there was pressure?
Well, without a doubt, you know.
How do you know he's not part of the same gang, and how do you know that he's not part of the same collusion?
You tell me, for an 8-year-old, you ask him who's the owner of Chennai Super Kings. He'll say Gurunath Mayappan, or the man who's been there from day one. You know, so he cannot be a cricket enthusiast. But your other question...
No, but that's what Dhoni said.
Exactly.
Therefore, should he step down as captain?
That's where he made a mistake. But what is in question? His credentials as a player, as a captain, is not in doubt. And we are debating the fact for Chennai Super Kings. Never anything has been spoken about
Mr. Muthiah,
Team India.
What is in question is his position before Justice Mudgal in his capacity as captain of the Chennai Super Kings. Nikhil Chopra arguing tonight that this has no bearing on Dhoni's position as captain of Team India. Mr. Muthiah.
How can it be? See, Dhoni is the face of Indian cricket, and he can't say an open lie like this, that Gurunath Mayappan is an enthusiast. He knows fully well he's not an enthusiast. He's been in the dressing rooms. He's been loitering all around the team. And how can he say such a thing? And just because his boss has compelled him to say, and he is under compulsion. That's why he has said that.
No, but that's not okay, Nikhil. I'm appalled by the argument that you're making. Even if this has nothing to do with his position as the Indian captain, it's the same player. He can't disassociate Dhoni, the CSK captain, from Dhoni, the India captain. It's the same person, the same integrity, the same set of values, and now he's being called morally corrupt. How can a man who's being accused of being morally corrupt in the Supreme Court continue to be our captain?
Rahul, I haven't read that report where, you know, it says Mahendra Singh Dhoni says that he's a cricket enthusiast. On the papers, I don't know the technicalities. I'm not a legal expert. But whatever was put in front of Mahendra Singh Dhoni, that's what he's probably gone in there and corroborated. Under pressure, not under pressure. You know, at the end of the day, he's been playing for Chennai Super Kings. Their boss is the BCCI's president. Everybody's got a dream to go out there and play for India. So you can't go out there and hang Dhoni.
You can't blame Dhoni. You can't hang him for what he said. You have to realize he's a human being and he's under pressure from the CSK chief. Gulu, Ezekiel, do you agree with that argument?
Yeah. No, you see, you can't blame Dhoni, you can't blame etc. etc. What you have to blame is that the entire IPL ecosystem now is that a cricketer, including the captain of the Indian team, owes more loyalty to his franchise than to his nation. Now I ask you, and I ask millions of fans out there, if you had a choice between supporting your franchise in IPL, which may or may not exist after 1 year, or if you had a choice of supporting your nation, which one would you choose? Now the situation has become such that our Indian cricketers are forced to make a choice, and they are choosing their franchise over their nation because of the tremendous pressure being put on them by franchise owners and by the enormous amounts of cash, which is, in other words, corrupted the...
Because Nikhil Chopra, if Dhoni is allowed to continue, what's the message this is sending out to the likes of a Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, or anybody else in the team? They say, this is the way to go. We have to protect Srinivasan. We have to protect our IPL team owner. If you accept Dhoni's position, then that sends a very negative message all across the board.
That's a different argument altogether. Why we are sitting here today...
How is it a different argument? It's the same person. It's the same set of values.
No, I'll tell you. Because from day one, what Mr. Muthiah has been fighting is the conflict of interest. Do not allow people to own teams who are office bearers of the BCCI. Then you won't have this in the first place.
Okay, you're making the case that there's a larger problem of conflict of interest which is crippling Indian cricket, and therefore, Boria Majumdar, you can't single out MS Dhoni and hang him out to dry. How do you respond to Nikhil Chopra?
You know, Rahul, I find this a little amusing and a little far-fetched. I mean, for me, any number of losses are acceptable. You cannot perform. But for me, cricket is about integrity. That is the ultimate watchword that defines this game. And for me, the Indian captain is the epitome of all the virtues that is associated with this game, which we call religion in this country. That man is being pulled up in the Supreme Court of the land and said, You are guilty of corrupt conduct by one of the legal luminaries in front of a packed court. Now that is shamefulness of the highest degree. That is unacceptable. I think Mahendra Singh Dhoni should take moral responsibility, whatever his reasons may be.
No, but there's a big match tomorrow.
Is not a kid.
There's a match tomorrow. Should he step down before that match? Won't that just really sully the atmosphere in the dressing room, make everyone really concerned? Shouldn't they just leave this aside and focus on the big T20 World Championship?
How can you do that? Can you, if you can, then you must be a human robot, that you can forget all of this and go and play a big match saying, oh, it doesn't matter to me, having lied in front of a judge, which was heading a committee appointed by the Supreme Court. If Mahendra Singh Dhoni can do that, great. But the fact is, every cricket fan in this country today feels cheated. They feel let down by their captain, who lied for a team franchise or an owner, saying his team principal was a mere enthusiast. I think that is abominable moral
Class
conduct.
1, Class 2 student can tell you that Gurunath Mayappan is the team owner. He is not a cricket enthusiast. For Dhoni to have taken this position and then to think that he can continue being captain of India is not okay. Here's a man who's defied by people. How can he do something like this and think that life goes on without anything changing?
I can understand. I'm saying that myself. Like you said, for a 4-year-old, 7-year-old, you show pictures on camera or on television, ask who owns the Chennai Super Kings, he'll go out there and point you. So, obviously he's not a cricket enthusiast, but I want to get to the bottom of why Mahendra Singh Dhoni actually went and called him as a cricket enthusiast. What were his pressures? We haven't heard of Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
So why isn't Dhoni speaking? He had an opportunity at a press conference this afternoon. He should have gone out and spoken. Why didn't he?
He's got a cricket tournament to play. He's got the World T20.
Well, his reputation is being smeared. There are questions against his character. He needs to answer those questions.
Let the tournament finish. I'm sure he'll come out and he'll call a spade a spade.
Well, he didn't answer the questions the first time either.
Give him an opportunity. Let the tournament
Boria wants to come in and respond to what you're saying. Yes, Boria.
Absolute rubbish. Last year, I can tell you this, even with dates, in leaving for the UK, Mahendra Singh Dhoni was asked this question in a public press conference. There was no tournament. He was in India and he said, move on. I can tell you even the name of the Headlines Today correspondent who asked him this question last year. Mahendra Singh Dhoni has not spoken Nikhil Chopra. He has never ever decided to stand up for moral causes like this.
Okay, Boria, let me take your take on that. Why do you think Mahendra Singh Dhoni said what he did to Mr. Mudgal?
I'm saying because he was under pressure from India Cements, but whatever the pressures are, at the end of the day, you're Indian cricket captain first. You are responsible to the nation, to you and me, Nikhil Chopra, not to India Cements.
I completely understand, but was the pressure so great? Try and understand, put yourself into Mahendra Singh Dhoni's shoes as well. It's very easy for us to sit here and try and crucify the man.
No, but he's not a money-making machine. He's the captain of the Indian team. He's responsible to all of us.
Absolutely, but where has he gone wrong when he's serving for the country? Where is he gone wrong when he's playing for India?
You can't disassociate your two positions.
No, Rahul, you are taking this debate into whichever side you want. Has he gone wrong anywhere when he's playing for India?
You are the same person. It is about integrity, Nikhil Chopra. Ultimately, I want to be Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Millions of people want to be Mahendra Singh Dhoni, not only for cricket, but it is a position of integrity. He has let the country down. That's where he has gone wrong.
Exactly, that is what I'm saying. Boria, I have not seen
Nikhil Chopra is arguing, Mr. Muthiah, Nikhil Chopra is arguing that Dhoni hasn't let the country down. Do you accept that he was under immense pressure? Anybody else would have done the same, Mr. Muthiah?
I don't think so. You see, as I told you earlier, he is the face of Indian cricket. He should not have let down Indian cricket. Everybody looks up to him. And if he is going to say lies like this, how can he remain as a captain? Tomorrow he will not be in his frame of mind. So with due respect, he should say that I'm not in my frame of mind, I would quit. I'm not going to play. So that would be the best thing to do.
Sir, but do you think Mahendra Singh Dhoni should resign in between the tournament as captain and continue as a player? Then my argument, if he's not captain, then he's got no right to be there as a player as well, because it's the same argument that he's the vice president of the India Cements.
No, he need not be a player. So what's wrong?
Okay. You heard everyone put out their positions. You decide where you stand. I want to come to the third question that we're asking on Centre Stage tonight, and this is about Sunil Gavaskar. Because if the problem is with conflict of interest, Mr. Muthiah, then there is a conflict of interest with Sunil Gavaskar as well. However, he has a clean reputation. There's no doubt about his integrity. Do you think he's a good option to step forward and take over as the interim BCCI chief, run cricket and bring it back to some semblance of normalcy, Mr. Muthiah?
As I told you earlier, Sunny has got all the technical abilities as far as cricket is concerned. But as far as the administration goes, I don't think that he has the experience. I may be wrong.
No, what makes Srinivasan a better administrator than Sunil Gavaskar? He's one of the most respected names in Indian cricket. He runs a company. He's been around for long enough. It's not rocket science to run the BCCI. Why can't we have a non-administrator, a cricketer for once, running the BCCI, sir?
No, that is up to the board to decide.
No, I'm asking you a direct question. Do you think Sunil Gavaskar is a good option?
Why are we hiding? Why are we hiding when we have somebody with ability, with experience to take over and run it, which has got all the integrity and the support of everyone?
No, why can't Sunil Gavaskar run the BCCI? I'm sorry, I don't understand. Why is one former administrator trying to get another administrator in? Why can't we have somebody who's got the sort of pedigree that a Sunil Gavaskar has, Mr. Muthiah? What's your primary objection? I don't understand you, sir.
No, I'm only looking at it from the angle of administrative experience. I've got nothing against Sunny. In fact, when I was in the ICC committee, I was the one who proposed his name as chairman of the technical committee.
No, Boria Majumdar, administration is not rocket science. This is not like you're supposed to be the DRDO chief scientist and you need to know how to launch a missile. This is about running cricket. Sunil Gavaskar has been around long enough. Why can't he be a good BCCI president? Surely he'll be better than Srinivasan.
Is that for me, Rahul?
Yes, Boria.
You know, I have every support for Sunil Gavaskar if he does three things. One, he leaves his private television channel contract, because the BCCI president cannot have a private television channel contract. Two, he runs a cricket management company called Professional Management Group, which has players like Cheteshwar Pujara and a lot of others, and Manoj Tiwari and a number of others in their ranks. And three, he is a paid BCCI commentator. The fact of the matter is the BCCI president will have to start on a clean slate. Sunil Gavaskar has serious issues of conflict of interest. Today, he has gone on record in social media saying he will not give up on his television contract. He hopes that the Supreme Court will allow him to keep his private television contract, his commentary stints, etc., etc. Such a person with such huge levels of conflict of interest cannot take over. Let Mr. Gavaskar, who I have the greatest of regard for, and one of the truest icons of Indian cricket, let him give up on these private television contracts, commentary, professional management group, etc., etc., and take charge. If he cannot do that, he's not the person suitable.
There are two arguments, Gulu Ezekiel, that we've heard. One, Muthiah arguing that he doesn't have cricketing administrative experience, and Boria saying that unless he gives up the three positions which land him in a conflict of interest, he has no business being BCCI president. Do you think he would make a better BCCI president than Srinivasan, for example? Gulu Ezekiel?
Yeah, you know, I think the Honorable Supreme Court, in mentioning Mr. Sunil Gavaskar's name, this is my personal opinion. I think basically they're floating a trial balloon. They're not saying specifically that Mr. Sunil Gavaskar has to take over as BCCI president. They're saying that somebody of his stature. Now, there are a number of ex-Indian cricketers who have, you know, great stature in Indian cricket. So, what the point the Supreme Court, I feel, is making is that why not allow cricketers to take over administration? I mean, for that matter, you have the situation of Mr. Shivlal Yadav, who played 34 test matches for India, who may take over after...
no, but what about conflict of interest? What about the fact that he runs a player management company? What about the fact that he has a private television news contract with NDTV? Surely he needs to give those up.
Boria is 100% right that you cannot obviously have all your commercial contracts and commitments and be a board official as well. That is what we are going back to the origin of this.
Because then, if he continues with those contracts, he's as good or as bad as Srinivasan. He needs to give up those contracts. And I don't agree with Muthiah. Do you think, won't Sunil Gavaskar make a good cricket administrator, or only somebody who's run a big company like Mr. Muthiah has or like Srinivasan has can be a good cricket administrator, and a cricketer can't be a good cricket administrator?
I think with the kind of experience Mr. Gavaskar had, you know, I think he'll be a fantastic administrator. But, you know, to try and put this argument to rest, why not? This is the best opportunity. You had some fantastic cricket administrators in the past as well. You know, Mr. Muthiah has been naming Shashank Manohar and so on and so forth. Why not have ex-cricketers with the stature of Sunil Gavaskar and some of our iconic legends to be heading BCCI with all the cricketing
I agree
department.
100%. You know, people
Let
like
all
Rahul
cricketing
Dravid
decisions.
and Anil Kumble, Mr. Muthiah,
Let them take all the
force
cricketing
them to
decisions.
give up their conflicts of interest. But that having been said, why can they not do a better job than you did or Srinivasan did or anybody else will do, sir?
Okay, but conflict of interest is very important.
Sure, I accept
how
that.
now Anil Kumble is already in the technical committee of ICC. Now, now Sunil, as Boria said, he has to quit all his assignments. So I'm sure Anil has also got some assignments. I do not know. So if
No,
they
Anil
come
Kumble
out,
runs a software company that was making big pitches both to the ICC and to the BCCI to try and come on board. But he needs to give that up. I want to go across to Balaji in Chennai. Balaji, do you think Srinivasan needs to step down, and do you think Gavaskar will make a good replacement?
See, whether Gavaskar will make a good replacement or not, that only time can say. But I agree with Boria on one thing, that Gavaskar has too many interests with the business of cricket. He has got to ensure that he comes out of all of that. But another thing is, why not a cricketer? I mean, when they say he doesn't have administrative experience, I have spoken to many, I have interacted with many cricket administrators who are not cricketers, who don't know what day of the week it is. And they have not run cricket very professionally in this country. They just call themselves administrators, but what sort of qualification they have had to become a cricket administrator has always been a big question. In the case of Gavaskar or in the case of any other player, he'll at least put the interest of the cricketer in front above everything
Nikhil
else.
Chopra,
That's very important.
His credibility is not in doubt. You know, he's been accused though of being part of the system. He's been accused of being a commentator who refuses to speak up. And does that then compromise his potential as a good BCCI president?
Not at all. I think he'll be a fantastic BCCI president with the kind of experience that he's had over the years. You know, he's been world over. He's seen different cricket boards. He's gone through all through the sort of rituals that he needs for one person to go through so that he could be BCCI president. You know, I completely understand where Boria is coming from, that if he gives up his commentary posts and things like that, if the man gets compensated for his deeds, why not? At the end of the day, he's got to earn a living as well. If for the BCCI president...
Absolutely. Why have someone who's so rich that he does this as an honorary position? He should be paid for it.
Without a doubt.
He's a professional. You need to respect his time and pay him for it. I want to come to the last question I'm debating on Centre Stage tonight, and that is about the Supreme Court's role. Many in the BCCI who refuse to come on this show to defend their position have actually called to say that the Supreme Court has no business in trying to sort out the affairs of the BCCI. They said that we're doing a great job. It's the only profitable sport in the country. Look at where we've taken cricket since 1983, and therefore the Supreme Court should just back off and let the BCCI do what it does. Boria Majumdar, would you agree with what the BCCI is saying without coming on record? Boria.
You know, I have said this 500 times on headlines today, and I say it the 501st time, that thank heavens there was the judiciary. Otherwise, I am not sure a cleanup is possible in the Indian cricket echelons. And I take full responsibility for what I'm saying. For the last 1 year, all we have heard from the BCCI is everything is hunky-dory. The BCCI appointed a panel which exonerated everybody. A clean chit was given to everybody. Mr. Srinivasan decided to step aside. On the 2nd of June, on 23rd of June, he attends an ICC meeting. On 13th of September, he attends a disciplinary committee meeting. Nobody in the BCCI speaks up. So what would have happened? Today also, have you heard anybody from the BCCI, the current BCCI, speak up? Has anybody spoken? Absolutely not. Everybody is waiting in the wings. So thank heavens for Ananga Kumar Patnaik and KM Kaifullah. Thank heavens for the judiciary, because ultimately they owe this to the Indian cricket fan. We should be glad, we should be appreciative of the role played by the Supreme Court.
Mr. Muthiah, there are several who believe that the Supreme Court is interfering in matters which are beyond its real business. That the Supreme Court has no business running cricket in India. They have no business suggesting who should be the BCCI president, and they should let the BCCI self-correction mechanism kick into play. Do you think that argument is fallacious? Mr. Muthiah.
I don't agree with that argument at all. We have done so much damage to Indian cricket. So we have brought in the Supreme Court to resolve the problems. So I don't blame, I cannot say that the Supreme Court has intervened at all. It is because of our own doing we have brought in the Supreme Court.
Absolutely. I think the one thing the BCCI has shown is that there is a club of omerta. No one speaks up against the other. They know about the dirty dealings of the other, and therefore the cleanup needs to come from outside. The cleanup cannot and will not come from within. And if we just pretend and sit back and seem as if nothing matters, nothing's going to change, then nothing will change. The Supreme Court interfering is actually the best thing that's happened to Indian cricket, Nikhil.
Well, without a doubt, Rahul, because at the end of the day, we wouldn't have been sitting here, because come when that initial sting took place and the guys got arrested, CSK, the Rajasthan Royals, Srishant, at that moment in time, like Boria is saying, an independent agency was given that probe from outside maybe the BCCI, and things could have come out.
But that's the argument the BCCI gave at that time, that we've ordered an internal probe, we'll clean this mess up.
See, this is something not an internal probe could do. This
Absolutely.
Because you need hardcore evidence. At the end of the day, you need your police investigative agency or independent, which have got that sort of sources.
I don't wish to take a position. You've heard fiercely argued points of view. You decide whether it's okay for the IPL to continue, given the cloud of suspicion that hangs overhead. Given also the fact that Dhoni has lied before Justice Mudgal very clearly, now that's being established, does he deserve to be the captain of the Indian team? And whether Sunil Gavaskar will make for a good BCCI president. You've heard these points of view being argued by our guests, whom I wish to thank now for joining us on Centre Stage this evening. Boria and our entire team will be tracking this story in the Supreme Court all through the day tomorrow, when we will find out what view the Supreme Court really takes. That really, in India, is the final court of justice. That's where things get cleaned up. Whether it's the CWG or the 2G scam, that is where things reach. And from there, the process of cleaning up begins. And I'm glad that the courts have stepped in. This really is a service they've done to cricket and to Indian fans. Thank you all very much, gentlemen, for joining me on Centre Stage tonight. Thank you.